All right. Well, Marshall, thank you for letting me interview you for a conversation about the Receive course and your experience with it so that other people can explore what's possible for them. We appreciate you being here.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. So I always like to start with the question, what was your original reason for taking the Receive course? If you could share a little bit about that.
I wanted to open up more to receiving because I'm more of one of those people that like to control what's coming in and control how it shows up. And I wanted to get beyond that limit a little bit, become more comfortable with the possibility of things and letting it take the form it takes and show up the way it shows up, rather than me constantly trying to direct or control it. And so the Receive course really spoke to me that way.
Okay, cool. Since one of the things that I, really like to illuminate is this idea of unlearning struggle. Um, is there anything more you can say about, you said I'm kind of one of those people that likes to control things. Anything more about how struggle showed up for you or when you kind of first stepped into this?
It's the struggle of trying to get what you want or trying to make things happen. So it's a lot of force, a lot of pressure applied to the self to do things, or trying to make something in the world happen for yourself. So there's that wrestle with control rather than cooperation or receiving or being following like your own intuition, your own awareness about what's showing up. And so that put a lot of stress because it's like, got deadlines, got to make things work. I want it to be this way. And I think instinctively we know we can't really control those things. And that's a scary prospect a lot of times. And I think for me, the fear came in from not having a structure that was easy to implement in response to, okay, if I can't control it, what do I do now then? Well, now I have a structure to follow in place of the urge to control that allows me to connect back with the experience that I'm going through and receive what shows up and allow possibility to take form and do its thing.
Okay, cool. As you were sharing that now, for people who don't know, the way the Receive course is structured now is it has 10 modules and each one focuses on what I call one of the 10 powers of being. And so you're actually still in about the first third of the course in terms of, going through the trainings and showing up for Q&As. So based on what you just shared, I thought it'd be good to unpack a little bit more at this point in the journey. And of course, you and I've talked about receiving even before, your work, our work together is what catalyzed and set in motion this opening that I had about kind of, for lack of a better term, how to operationalize receiving, to actually have a structure. So maybe you can talk a little bit more about what is it that you're finding, what is it that you're learning that's most impactful for you?
It's the safety of having space. It's like, I'm still safe regardless of the outcome. And that even if I don't get what I'm looking for in the form sense, like I want it to show up this way, if I open up more to the energy, to the experience of the essence of it, I tend to get that a lot faster and a lot lighter. So that's the expansion that's more at the heart level for me, because it's not a mental thing. It's in body, it's somatic, and it's just like, hey, this talks to me and I follow this and boom. And sometimes I don't have to do anything at all. And sometimes the action I do, we would say maybe is required to take. It's more like an inspired action. You just do it and you get a thing. You get the desire you're looking for. And I like that. So it's created a lot of safety in the willingness to let the unknown take form and show up the way it's going to show up. And that's been the biggest gain for me, like internally and experientially with it. So.
Right, good. So you talked about coming to the course because you wanted to open up to more ease, less forcing, making things happen. What are some of the particular areas of life where, have been at the forefront as you've embarked on this journey and are experiencing kind of more safety in the spaciousness?
One of the areas specifically at the time I started the course, it was just business revenue for myself. And I've been successful and predictable in what I get, but there's a fair amount of energy that can go into that. And so I started playing with more ease in that space. Like, let's just do a thing, well, we'll do this. And I started coming to my business from that angle. I mean, I brought in $20,000 in 5 weeks, which is a big deal without a whole lot of effort. It was just, I did the tasks required, but I didn't have all this emotional push or this big mental focus on it. I just kind of like, here we go. And people were like, cool. And they sign up. And that was really nice. It was really an educational experience in the safety of receiving, and the reality that ease is an option in life, that money is not tied to difficulty or stress or struggle, as you put it. It also has the ability to show up without all of that, more with a sense of peace or playfulness or a lightness to it. And that was a big outcome for me that way. And then it also changed my living situation. That was really nice because there was some turmoil around that and not a lot of options at that point, and it solved itself. I didn't do anything. The landlord did everything. I'm like, cool.
Right.
And that was a very nice thing right there. That solved some big stress.
Yeah. So you, just to kind of illuminate that, just to make it concrete for people. So you kind of got this news that you had to move, right? That was like the thing that showed up in your life.
Time to move. And I didn't want to move. And that the rental situations where I live are very precarious because the pricing's always going up. And I had the money. I didn't want to spend it. I have other interests that are more important to me. I like the apartment I'm in. I didn't want to move. Just bleh. And so I was like, well, I'll move if I need to, but I'm also going to open up to letting this take care of itself, because I'd been applying for apartments and looking for options, and it just wasn't working. And that's where it started to get a little stressful, because you're like, okay, well, if this isn't going to work, what's going to happen? So I was like, okay, we'll live in a Airbnb, we'll do this. It was just a really chaotic time. And then they came over on a Sunday and said, hey, we want you to rent from us for another year. We'll lower the rent. We're going to make these improvements. What do you think? And I'm like, cool. Then signed it, was done. That was not what I predicted. But it is exactly what I wanted. So I was really empowering that way.
Yeah. And I love how you said it wasn't what I predicted, but it was what I wanted. And you knew you couldn't control any of it. And not only did you get to stay there, but the rent actually came down.
Which is an unusual experience.
Yeah.
And they're improving the apartment alongside that. So I'm like, cool. Yeah, you do you. I'll take it.
That's awesome. So one of the things that I teach, and I'm sure by now 3 modules in, you've heard me say that in order to be a good receiver, you need to learn how to receive not only what you do want, but your don't wants. And so in that situation, like you said, there were things happening that you didn't want. And so did you practice that morning thing every morning? Is that how you handle
every
that?
morning it was acknowledging it, letting it be here, and then inviting more better. And I'd write it down. I listened to the segment of the class 3 where you lead us through it, and I'd follow that, and I go about my day. And sometimes I was a grouchy little butt. Other days I was great, and other days I was in between. But I kept just doing what I needed to do and getting my part done, and letting what I can't control be uncontrolled, and seeing what it did. So and that ALI process really helped a lot, because it got me out of my head, got me more aligned with what I wanted, and at least created the space emotionally, like in my body, to kind of breathe and just let it be.
Yeah, awesome. And I'll just say for the record, so anyone who's watching this conversation, this is a great example of how fast things can happen. Because even though there's 10 modules, this was already starting to happen for you 3 modules in. So, yay, congratulations. So with that, let me just go back to my notes. So we talked about what you've learned and things that you've manifested on an inner level and an outer level. Maybe you can just kind of, to wrap it up, why would you recommend this, and what kind of person do you think would benefit? Like, what would they be looking for that would make this a match for them?
Right. Well, I would recommend it because it works. I've been through a lot of courses, I've spent a lot of money on courses, especially in things around receiving, manifesting, stuff like that. and I look for things that work. And that's why I would recommend it, because it's functional. It does its job. It does it very well. The other reason I'd recommend is the simplicity of it. It puts a nice structure around the process of manifesting and receiving. There's a lot of other systems that are a little more fluid with it. Like, well, put your intention out, hold some, write things down, do your affirmations. But the ALI approach really gave my brain a process that, again, fills the gap of control. So like, well, what do I do instead? And my brain didn't like just hold space and let it go and see what happens. The ALI approach allowed me to move through the emotional attachments that show up, the emotional resistance that can be there, and acknowledge what my reality is, because life isn't always, peachy. And so there's stuff going on. We need to get in touch with that. And then the awareness behind it and the openness that comes with it by letting it be here. And then inviting more better. So it's like, okay, what is possible now? This is here. So what is possible now for this? Or how does it get even better than that? Or this? And that's the process that empowered me to have some functionality in a way that my brain likes with that. Because I'm an analytical person. I like process. I like structure because it helps me organize the information and put it to use. So that if you're a person watching this that really is into the analysis angle, and you like to have something you can do that works, this has got the structure for it. It's very, very empowering that way. And I'd be the kind of person it really relates to, is someone who's stuck in manifesting. They've had success, but they get this intermittent success, but they also want to go beyond a limit. And they're reaching their horizon, their comfort zone limit. And so it's tripping them up with the capacity to receive. And this practice gives, for me, it gave me the capacity to step beyond that and receive more, because, safety is a primary thing for my nervous system. So I've got to be safe. So this allowed me to have a way of creating safety and receiving more. So, yeah.
Well, thank you. I love hearing it from your perspective. And yeah, that's one of the things I love, how you really connect the spaciousness to the safety. And especially for people, like you said, it's like that, you hear about people who are either afraid of failure, afraid of success, but that is something that, as we become more and more successful, there is that feeling of losing control, or can I have more than what I'm consciously aware of is possible? And yeah, that's what this is about, is inviting more or better beyond what our minds can conceive of, or that sense of control so it doesn't get out of, right. Go beyond that. So it's great to hear from your perspective.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, welcome.
All right. Well, thank you, Marshall. I know that your time here is going to definitely help people connect the dots for themselves. So I appreciate the opportunity to interview you.
Yeah, you're welcome. I'm happy to share.
Great.